Very nice to meet you, Andy. Appreciate you
Yeah,
taking
no, good to meet you
the time.
too, Peter. Thank
Yeah.
you for reaching out. Good to have an opportunity to chat. So
Yeah, especially I had a little look and seen what you guys are doing in the large scale of aviation, but I was wondering if you had anything to do with general aviation in the UK.
at the moment, Peter, not.
Okay.
So we've kind of, I suppose, sustainable aviation started in 2005, and it was that kind of bringing together of the big
Yeah.
airlines, airports, aerospace manufacturers and things, and then kind of looking at the challenges we face then around noise and carbon emissions. So,
Sure.
but from my experience, we're all in the same boat when we're trying to tackle these problems, whether you're general aviation or big commercial aviation, and in many ways, opportunities to learn from both sides in terms of innovation, ideas, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, and not at the moment, I think would be
Okay.
the straight answer.
Well, that's actually what set me off on the journey, because I was thinking if skydiving or other general aviation could get involved in some of the concepts early on, running them at smaller sized operations, at single airfield operations, that may actually help the larger picture overall.
Yeah, indeed, Peter. And I think, interesting to see, lots of activity at the moment on the kind of single engined, pilot training aircraft, starting to sort of think, can they go electric? If so, how would that work? And then obviously this kind of other interesting area around hydrogen aeroplanes. Are they going to come in, and
and the
how are they going to
upscaling
scale
of
up?
everything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it feels eminently possible
Yeah, I
from
mean,
where I'm sat, Peter.
fantastic. Well, then what I have is just a couple of questions for you, and anything else that you want to illuminate us with, please do. My channel's pretty small, but it does becoming a bit of a reference point for sustainability in skydiving. So just want to keep it as honest as possible. And speaking to someone like yourself, I hope I can do that. Um,
Absolutely.
uh, do you think that there's anything coming down the pipe that's going to affect general aviation in the way that it's affecting larger operations? For example, Corsair or GGRs or anything else that you guys are heavily involved with?
So I think probably two things, Peter. I think one is kind of how long is aviation fuel going to be affordable at reasonable prices for whether you're a GA operator or whether you're a large airline operator. That's the big grappling question that certainly the big airlines are looking at, and what that means for them. My sense is that we're moving away from fossil fuels. Which is, I think, the right thing to do to respond to the climate change challenge. But it does present challenges for everybody that currently uses fossil fuels, and obviously aviation's been pigeonholed as a kind of hard to decarbonize sector, because there isn't that kind of immediately available alternative, electric vehicle or whatever it is that you've got on the kind of ground transport side. So I think that's the kind of big risk. So whether it's a carbon tax that is placed on people who use, be it avgas or Jet A1 fuel, or whether it is literally a restriction because suppliers stop producing it, and the price goes up in the market. Either, I think, could happen relatively quickly. The other thing is just kind of whether there's a push to force a phase out of older aircraft from governments and regulatory bodies, that just kind of the sense is actually, we need to nudge people to upgrade. And with that comes a challenge. Okay, well, what am I upgrading to? What's available in the market? How much does it cost, etc. So that there's all sorts of kind of questions around that, and hence the kind of innovation work that's going on the moment around kind of electric and hydrogen aircraft in the kind of smaller aircraft category.
So it might serve us to start getting ahead of the ball a little bit with regards to that, with regards to researching options and certainly cleaning up our existing operations. I mean, I know one of the parts of your 4-part plan is a more efficient operation, and I think that's something that us in general aviation we should start with that.
Yeah, and I think that's hopefully it's the kind of quick wins. So just kind of how efficiently can we get people up in the air and get back down and do it all safely, obviously, but kind of save a bit of money and fuel along the way. So I mean, obviously the airlines have been on a journey for kind of probably 20-30 years on kind of increasing IT and management system support in doing that. So, you know, lots and lots of kind of flight planning, preparation, thought, linking to ever better weather forecasting and all that kind of stuff to try and optimize flight profiles, and then slowly working with air traffic control to just change where we've got bottlenecks or blockages in the air traffic control system to try and optimize flight profiles. So anything like that, you know, it feels kind of an opportunity maybe from the skydiving side that you could look at.
Yeah, and those are the things that seem to be overlooked in this hunger to get a new technology. Let's just like clean up our backyard a little bit first.
Indeed, and they're kind of immediate savings. You know, probably certainly kind of 5-10%, perhaps even more.
And we're talking economic savings as well, which is where it hits the most in a lot of small places.
Yeah.
All right. The next question I have, and it's with part two, is do you think that SAFs are going to deliver the promise that that the media and the airlines say they do?
So I think sustainable fuels have absolutely the opportunity to do it. I think there are some key barriers to progress that need to be overcome. So that at the moment, sustainable aviation fuel started off very much in a kind of what they call first generation, which is kind of crop based and waste crop residues, used cooking oil, that kind of, you know, product, and then turning that effectively into aviation fuel. The second stage, which is kind of the stuff we're looking at mainly through sustainable aviation in the UK with the airlines, is kind of waste based. So this is kind of agricultural waste, forestry waste, but increasingly and most importantly municipal, commercial and domestic waste. So basically the stuff that we put in a black bin and can't be recycled, that can be turned into waste. The volumes that we can get from that are enough to get us towards 10% of UK aviation fuel demands supplied through SAF in 2030, and then we're looking to kind of scale up from there. And in a perfect world, if we scale it up and we introduce what we call the kind of third generation of sustainable fuels, which is where you capture carbon from the atmosphere, put it together with green hydrogen using renewable energy, then we can get up to around 75% of the UK aviation fuel provided by SAF made in the UK by 2050. The barriers to all of that are sustainable aviation fuel costs more than aviation fuel, fossil aviation fuel in the marketplace. So, and there needs to be a lot of kind of changes in the way we do stuff compared to how we do it today. So the first thing is, at the moment, most of our landfill waste goes to waste to energy incineration, and that's in long-term contracts. So that policy of how you prioritize the use of your waste needs to be rethought, and we've not solved that yet. The second thing is on that kind of price issue, we need a mechanism that helps bridge that price for anybody that's buying fuel. They need to be able to kind of buy that at a competitive price in the marketplace. So somebody needs to act as a kind of risk underwriter that helps bring the cost of the fuel down. Now that's needed in the first couple of years as you scale up production, and it's
similar to EVs, the way they've been introduced with regards to benefits from the government, etc.
Yeah, that's right. And mainly you need to do that because kind of we're starting to make sustainable fuels, so it's like any new industry, it's not as efficient as it could be. We're learning as we go. Cost of production is kind of higher than we would maybe like it to be, and the expectation is as we learn and we grow, the cost of production comes down, so therefore the need to underwrite the difference in price goes away. Now this comes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is actually one of the solutions to bridge that gap in price between fossil fuel and sustainable fuel is to say, well, actually, we'll just put a carbon price on the use of fossil fuel. So effectively, you
that pays for the SAFs.
That then pays for the sustainable fuel, and it makes a sustainable fuel equal price in the market. So that's why I think there could be a change in cost for using.
That seems to be like a much better way of dealing with the offset rather than some of the other offset programs that I've been looking at.
Yeah. So basically what we've been doing in sustainable aviation is working very closely with the UK government to say, can we have a policy that kind of does this? And where are we on that journey right now? So we've got a mandate, or we've virtually got a mandate, so which is basically the government saying industry has to buy a certain amount of fuel that's sustainable fuel. But what we don't have is this kind of certainty on price. So we're basically saying to the government, look, you need to,
Mhm.
excuse my language, try a bit harder
Yeah,
on this.
it's a push and pull, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So and they've committed to having a consultation about this, so which will hopefully come out before the election.
Good luck with that. Sounds like you've got some heavy lobbying ahead of you.
Yeah, there's lots of work to do behind the scenes.
For sure. Well, that's great. Do you have anything else you think might help us in our part of aviation?
So I think that the technology of the new aircraft is something that I think would be really good to start to be able to test and trial. Not fully accept, not everybody's going to be able to kind of get rid of their current plane and buy the new one, you know, from a pure capital investment point of view. But what I think we can all do is kind of do those trials, do that testing, help out the manufacturers, the kind of proof of concept. So I think you've got people like Project Ampere that are kind of testing kind of some of those kind of aircraft that could be suitable for the kind of skydiving market. There's been trials up in the Orkney Islands and the Highlands and Islands of Scotland. You've got Cranfield Aerospace Solutions and Zero Avia looking at kind of hydrogen fuel cell aircraft. For me, the important reason why you kind of need to do the testing is, you know, where's the electricity supply coming from into the airfield you're operating from? Is it sufficient? Does it need boosting? How do you do that? If you're thinking about a hydrogen fuel cell aircraft, how do you get the hydrogen to the airfield and get it on and off the aircraft? You know, we're talking as kind of commercial industry with people like the CAA and you know, starting to explore, well, how do we, as we trial and develop stuff, how do we also kind of help you develop regulations so that we're not developing a solution, then having to wait while we do all the regulatory bit, and then we kind of launch the product. So it's trying to, as much as we can we run things in parallel and fast track?
So that's where we could help out with having a slightly smaller operation that is maybe facing regulation, that if we're starting to move towards something like this, it could be a win-win situation.
Absolutely, Peter. And I think the one thing I've learned in doing sustainability in aviation for 20 odd years is that the more we can get people collaborating, working together and growing that network, the quicker we get stuff done.
Solutions, yeah. That's great. That's really nice to hear that from someone else apart from myself. Excellent. Andy, I'm happy to keep it short if you are. Just it's really nice to get a bit of a touchstone from you.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Peter. And you know, obviously, kind of there's broader work we do in sustainable aviation, and I guess some of it could be helpful and beneficial for the skydiving community. So do kind of point them in the direction of the website. Thank you, Peter, and say thanks again for reaching out. It's good to have a chance to share thoughts and ideas. So
thank you for your information. I appreciate it.